This video is a continuation from the previous video. Okay, so we're going to talk about if you want to achieve split lighting, if you want to achieve loop lighting, butterfly with fill. I'm going to show you how those are set up, and we're going to also talk about other ways of setting up lights. Okay, so for split lighting, this is what this looks like. It's very high contrast. One side of the person is really very lit up, and the other side is in shadow. And it's literally the camera, the subject, and the light. With loop lighting, we move the light to this direction. The subject, the camera, the light. Okay, so the butterfly lighting is directly behind, but it is overhead. So you can see it right here in her eyes. Butterfly lighting is, think how normally when you say butterfly, it's overhead. It's like that. So you could see in the reflection in her glasses, the lighting is coming from above. So this light is directly shooting at her, but it's overhead, as opposed to the split light that is lower level. You can see that the light, if you look for the highlight, the whitest white, the brightest bright, that's where the light is hitting. somewhere in here, or somewhere right here. I'm going to say the light is roughly at her forehead in height right here. And then down here, it looks like it's a little bit higher, and I know because I can see her shadow. So you can move these lights up and down to get them where you need them. Okay, so with those lights, it's just one light that you position in your scene in different locations to get different effects. Contrast in lighting, hard light versus soft light. For natural lighting on the sunny days, you're going to have very high contrast in the middle of the day. If you're shooting closer to the morning or later in the afternoon, it starts to soften that contrast, which is why so many people shoot those times of day. It's really the ideal light for shooting. Cloudy days has lower contrast. Most portraits use soft lighting. So if you want to shoot somebody on a outside, and unless you have no choice, you want to try to avoid, for the most part, those bright sunny days. You want to shoot either in the morning on a sunny day or the afternoon, or you want to wait till there's a cloudy day. Flash will reduce the amount of contrast, and we'll talk about flash in great detail in photography too. The soft light also helps with the color. That when you take a high contrast photo, it washes out the color in your photo. So if you want more saturation, you don't want to shoot in high contrast. And this is high key contrast. There's one light in here, and it is positioned to the side of her face, and it's very bright, and she's in a dark room. And I know all this just from looking at it, and you will eventually too. What starts to happen is the more experience you have, the more knowledge you have. And that's literally what it is. Experience creates knowledge. Knowledge creates skill and ability. And so when you're going to also see that there may be one other thing going on here. And it depends on, can't see the profile of her nose. It looks like she might be getting, you can see the little highlights in her eye. This light is enough, and she's turned enough so that it's hitting her eye over here. Sometimes when you take shots like this, you're going to need a flashlight to point at the person's eye, so this other eye will be in focus. Imagine if you can't see this eye. It doesn't work as well. You want to see both eyes in this portrait, and you want those to be in focus. But this is a very cool high key contrast. You could see this working for a poster for all kinds of situations. But for instance, a dramatic play, because look at the look on her face, this high key contrast. We've set a mood that very much belongs to sort of like a mystery or some suspense story. And then this is low contrast. The reason this photo works is because we've got this character right here who's black. He's in silhouette. And that black silhouette, that black color in the scene compared with the white is enough to allow a low contrast photo to work. If he weren't black, if he were gray, this would be a different photo. And it wouldn't be as strong. So even in your low contrast shots, you still need something that's white, bright white, and something that's dark black. You still need those things in there for the photo to register as properly exposed. And it can just be this little amount. Okay, so here's the same exact photo. On the left, it's low contrast, and on the right, it's high contrast. Which is the stronger image? Why? And always for me, the answer is, well, what's the context? What am I going for? Now, for me, the one on the left is the low contrast is too low, but if it was a little bit higher, this might work for another situation. I might want that to be my background, and that is the proper exposure. If I'm going to have something else or someone in the foreground, I don't want them competing with this. So there are times that the one on the left is going to be the correct exposure or the correct use. The one on the right, if it's to be a standalone image, it's very high contrast. To me, it's a little too high. I've lost a lot of detail in the dark areas. So I might want to not be quite so high. But there are times when this will work. It always depends on what you're going for. Okay, time of the day, morning light versus evening light. And this is, I think it's pronounced Uluru in Australia. And this giant rock, and it's massive rock, in the middle of the plain is a different color every single hour of every single day, and probably been more often than that. I'm not sure how often it changes color, but as the sun changes its position, it changes the light on the rock. So you will see hundreds of different photos of this, thousands of different photos of this rock that have been lit differently, and it looks different in every photo. It's pretty cool. Okay, so this scene out in the Utah desert is the one on the left is night, the one on the right is dawn, the one on the bottom is sunrise, and the one on the right is morning. And so what this is essentially showing is the top left is right before. This is actually twilight. So the sun is starting to come up on the horizon, and what you get, and it's coming up behind us. And I know this because you've got what's called the alpenglow in your scene here. The pink opposite the sun, where the sun's going to rise, is the alpenglow. And it also, the sun, sometimes, several times, I'm trying to think, I don't know how many times a year, but because the moon and the sun have different orbits, obviously. There's times when the moon is setting as the sun is rising, or vice versa, and the sun just hits the moon just right, and you get that beautiful exposure of the moon. And if they had wanted to get the moon in exposure correctly, you would have had to take a second shot. You can't expose the scene and the moon properly in the same shot, with very few exceptions. For the most time, every shot you see with the moon in it has been composited. Okay, so what's happened is the sun's coming up. It hasn't broke the horizon yet. and it's just barely hitting the moon. Sometimes it turns the moon red. It's really beautiful. It just depends on the what's going on in the atmosphere. Okay, so that's right before sunrise, and then the sun breaks, and you get a little bit of. Actually, I'm trying to think. It looks like they're calling. Okay, so this is dawn to them, which means I don't know the difference in their minds between dawn and sunrise, because this looks like it's still twilight right before the sun breaks, like seconds before the sun breaks. I don't know what they're considering dawn versus sunrise. And then now the sun has come over the horizon. So what may have happened here is the sun has broken the horizon, which is back here, but it hasn't broken the mountains that are behind us. That may be what they're talking about here. And then sunrise, now the sun has broken over whatever's in the background. It may be trees, it could be other mountains, it's most likely other mountains. And now you can see the sun is hitting objects in the scene. And often what'll happen, that very first light that hits in the morning, it creates a reddish hue to everything. It doesn't last very long. It's just that first light. It lasts a few seconds, and then the scene turns bluish. See how this is kind of blue? And then this is warmer. And then this is, a couple hours later, once the sun is fully out and hitting everything. And while I know it's compared to these other shots, this looks like it's a warm shot. But if you compared that to sunset, this is still a very bluish, cool shot. It's still bluish, cool light. Okay, and so I'm going to stop this video here, and I want to talk a little bit more in detail. The next several slides are about the different times of day in addition to what we just covered. So let's go back here, and we'll pick up right here in the next video.